We've got reporters now deployed into the areas to show us some storm damage and coverage. Chris Gothner is near Bondurant. Chris, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Stacy, we just pulled into Bondurant. You can see that there is a roof that has been pulled off the house. I'm going to zoom in the phone here. We're on a phone here, so the cell signal may not be great. You can see emergency crews on the scene here. This is a second.
Looks like we've lost Chris's audio there, but there he is. He's back.
Going to get as close as I can to this house here that has had a roof blown. Yeah, we can see this house. I don't know how well you can see it, but it looks like some pretty significant damage here as emergency crews are but Altoona Fire out here. This is on 2nd Street and Mallard Point Drive in Bondurant. We saw a funnel cloud off into the distance as we were driving into town here. Take a look at some power lines zooming in here. Pretty significant damage here as Polk County deputies and Altoona police are on scene right now.
Okay. Yep.
All right, Chris Gothner, thank you very much. The next time we
take a look
check
at
in
this,
with you,
this yard here, something's just been blown off here into this yard.
Okay, Chris, the next time we check in with you, try and stay more in one spot, because by moving around, we lose your signal.
That's right. Curtis.
Some more reporting from Chris Gothner right now. He's in Bondurant, and he's up on a little bit better connection right now. You can see Chris in the frame right there. And Chris, it was a little choppy before.
Hi, Steve.
Why don't you describe what you're seeing out there in Bondurant and approximately where you are?
Yeah, we are at, I believe it's, we're near Mallard Point Drive. I believe this is 2nd Avenue. You can see this house over here on Mallard Point Drive. Roof has been just completely lifted off of this as emergency crews are on scene. Also here we have what looks to be a trailer or something that has turned over in a yard. Trees strewn about this yard. Fire crews on scene. We are hearing people referencing something related to a gas leak. We haven't confirmed that has occurred here, but that's something that's a concern for folks here. You see numerous emergency crews blocking 2nd here in Bondurant off the scene. The most significant damage, at least structurally right now, does appear to be this house over here as photographer John Houghton gets in on that. I'm going to walk over here and maybe give you a view closer as some of these cars may be obscuring the view, but yeah, that house is pretty well damaged. We don't know if anybody's been hurt in this. We can only hope not, but again, very significant damage here in Bondurant. As I was saying, as we were coming in, we saw a funnel cloud off into the distance, possibly that one Curtis was referring to there. Pretty serious weather here. Photographer John Houghton on the other side of the street here as we see an ambulance coming in. I'm going to try to cross the street here and get with John. Some minor damage to the house next to it. By comparison, some roof damage, but again, nothing really compares to what happened to this house here. Not obliterated, but pretty severely destroyed.
Yeah, we see, Chris, we also see in your picture when John Houghton was pulled out and gave us a wider shot that there was roof damage to a number of other houses in that same general vicinity. Also saw a bunch of debris hanging in the power lines.
That's right. And Chris, we're wondering, you talked about the possibility of a gas leak. Does it look like anybody's being evacuated, people out of their houses? What's going on there?
We're seeing, yeah, hi Steve. Well, we're seeing people out of their houses. We're not being told by emergency crews to evacuate just yet. We just heard people, neighbors, talking on the ground about a potential for a gas leak. So again, that's, as in these situations, things can develop quickly and things may or may not be the case, but obviously that's a serious possibility. If so, yeah, and as Stacy was mentioning, take a look at some of the stuff that is on this power line. You just have debris that just completely wrapped around this power line here in Bondurant. This is a mess, folks, and we can only hope that nobody got hurt in all this. We're going to keep obviously surveying the damage to this area, but pretty significantly hit.
All right, Chris, thanks for reporting with us, and folks, thanks at home for being patient with us. Our technology gets a little kinked up when weather is like this, and we're trying to move and show you the pictures. So we're going to work on getting him a better signal and catch back up with him. We do have Chris Gothner, though. Okay. He's live in the area, and he showed us some storm damage earlier. Chris, what's the latest up there where you are?
Hi, Steve and Stacy. Well, hopefully we have better picture and audio for right now. We apologize for those issues of technology, as you know. Take a look at this house here. This is that house that is damaged. We have seen emergency crews kind of largely leave the area right now, although there are still, of course, plenty on scene as this damage. You can just see stuff just strewn about here in this yard in this Bondurant neighborhood right next to that power pole that has some of that debris on it. I think we are going to try crossing the street right now. Let's photographer John Houghton with me. We're going to watch and make sure we're going the safe way here. But we're going to take a look at some of the damage here. You see a destroyed trampoline here. So lots of just insulation is just snowed over this yard here in this house in Bondurant. Lots of roof damage. You can see shingles torn off this roof here. But let's take a closer look at this one house, because this house here, 149, seems to be the worst. This is 2nd Street Northwest, and let me look at the street one more time. It is, I believe it's Mallard Point Drive. Yeah, 149 Mallard Point Drive here appears to be the house that is most significantly damaged. You can see John's taking a look at a 319 here, which is also pretty badly damaged. But John, if we could go back to that one, you can see right through the garage there. It's big nails here. Okay, well, we're keeping an eye on that. Thank you.
Okay.
149 Pheasant Ridge here. You can see straight through that garage, straight through that. Steve?
Yes, Chris, why don't you walk a little bit farther? It looks like south. The house directly to your right, it looks like that one, the roof has been ripped off down to the joist. If you could just have John swing his camera right. Now back the other way.
Yeah,
okay. Look back directly behind you, at the house behind you. Yeah, it looks like that roof has been torn off down to the joist, and that garage door, you know, probably some suction there created that problem. But we saw the back of that house earlier. So I'm just curious, Chris, how far does it look to you like the path of damage goes? Or just curious if this was down for a brief period or if it stayed on the ground for a little bit.
Well, you know, let's swing over here to the other end. I didn't even notice this earlier, but take a look at this house that's here on 2nd Street. You can see actually the roof. So this actually goes pretty far. It almost looks like this tornado might have crossed the street. Oh my, look at this. We hadn't seen this angle before, but you can see debris just in these yards, just a mess right now. But that house there is pretty significant. We might make our way down there here shortly. You see fire crews over there. Pretty significant damage. We'll try to get you a closer picture on that as we cross the street. But like I said, it almost looks like, I don't know if this was a very wide tornado path, because you look at some of the houses that are just directly across the street here, and some of them look practically untouched by this. So I'm guessing it might have been a very compact tornado, but it did some pretty real damage here. We're just walking across here, seeing some of the just debris that is strewn across the ground, pieces of wood, pieces of trees. But we got what looks like a lawnmower here, just taken about, strewn about, just completely destroyed a just huge path of destruction. We're just, I think, probably following the path that this tornado took, because when you see those aerial shots of what tornadoes look like in the American heartland, you see some of those, just that path of white debris. And I think we're taking the path that this tornado might have taken. I mean, obviously that's for the meteorologists to figure out, but it's looking like it.
And Chris, you said there are emergency personnel.
Let's just walk further.
Chris, you said there are emergency personnel out there on the scene. They're moving to different locations along the path of this store.
There are.
I noticed
There
that
are,
somebody
Stacey.
was talking to you. What kind of warnings have you been given as you're out there covering this? Are they wanting you to be careful of power lines? Are they wanting?
He was talking that. We haven't heard anything about power lines, Stacey, but the guy was warning us about nails. Of course, we appreciate that warning. We're at Eagle Park right now. We haven't heard much about the gas leak. We did talk to the woman who owns that house, or her father-in-law owns the house, but she was in that at the time.
Okay, Chris, thank you very much. We need to get back over to Curtis. Curtis
house.
has some.
Worth it. We do have Chris Gothner live back out at Bondurant. Let's check in with him. Chris?
Hi, Steve and Stacey. Well, we're moving back right now because I don't know if you can hear it on this, but we have an active gas leak right now. The sheriff's office is telling us we're going to have to stage over at Bondurant High School for a news conference, but there is an active gas leak right now, so they're having us move back. You can see, if John pans over, you can see a lot of emergency crews staging here on the scene. Really a somewhat chaotic situation as they're trying to get everything in place. As we have an active gas leak right now. Again, we're going to walk back to our news car here as we go to the high school, but we'll show you some of the damage once again. This is, of course, seemingly where this tornado blew through. It is we're walking over lots of wood right now, trying to not trip over some of this stuff. You can smell a little bit of that gas in the air right now. We didn't hear that same, forgive me if this fire truck is going over my mic right now, but you could hear some of the, we couldn't hear rather, some of that gas over at that other house that supposedly had a gas leak, but I think they're still possibly just checking there to see what's going on there. But again, that appears to be a potentially dangerous situation as that gas leak. We're going to continue walking to our news car. You see a mass of neighbors walking over here to see what happened. We talked to some of them. One of the women we talked to was just caught up in this storm. It was a scary situation. We will be hearing from her a little bit later on as we get that interview.
Okay, Chris, we need to interrupt you and get right back over to Curtis.
Afternoon with regard to the weather here in central Iowa. Let's go back out to Bondurant and KCCI's Chris Gothner. Chris.
Sounds like it's still. Yeah, hi, Steve and Stacey. Well, just out of the corner of my ear, it sounds like this gas might still be going. John, can you hear the gas still going? Okay, he can't tell, but I mean, you see the crews are out there. We saw Mid-American Energy crews out here earlier, presumably for power lines or gas. Again, take a look, though, at some of the damage to these decks in this backyard here along 2nd Street or 2nd Avenue in Bondurant. You can see, again, where the path of this destruction clearly went through, because you just see these decks toppled. You see shingles being taken off roofs. You see some of the siding taken off. You see just exposed wood there. But the house down here, where you just see it looks like the entire roof almost taken off here, down along 2nd Avenue. This is bad, folks. John, I don't know if you can pan again. I think we ought to show that house again here on Mallard Point Drive. Again, if you're just joining us, this was, according to neighbors here and according to a lot of the folks we're talking to, this was a 2-story house. It is no longer. Just extreme damage to this house here. Again, we don't know if anybody in this neighborhood was hurt by this. We can only hope not. But this was very bad damage, really, as crews, it looks like, if you can see this, are we still on me right now, guys? If we can see some of the neighbors out here just picking up the damage out here.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Have to get back over to Curtis. KCCI's Chris Gothner is there, and he's in the Mallard Point neighborhood. And Chris, a lot of damage there.
Yeah, I mean, it is just as incredible on the ground as it was when you see those videos there. Take a look. We showed you this a while ago, but I wanted to come back here. This is that trailer that just came up and got turned upside down in this house here. You can see the garage again got blown straight through. We talked to the homeowner of this house again. they're okay too. I mean, it's really incredible that nobody that we know of has gotten hurt in at least in this Mallard Point neighborhood. I think I'm going to walk down again if John Houghton follows me. We're going to try to stay off the road here because it is an active road now, as you see the Mid-American Energy truck. Whoa, I just slipped there. Okay, but we're fine. Moving down on here, you see again this house. We're just going to show it to you again if maybe you're just joining us on this coverage. Because again, this was a 2-story house. It is now a 1-story house because it just got obliterated by this storm. I mean, the roof is off. The garage is, again, blown through. Again, on this one, though, nobody hurt. I mean, great news there. Nobody home at the time. Really incredible that nobody got hurt in this destruction. You see the Mid-American Energy crews, again, working to get the debris cleared off of these power lines. Lots of deputies on scene still. The emergency crews have largely cleared off from the just sheer amount that there were earlier, but still plenty out here as they work on what was or maybe still is a gas leak out here on 2nd Street Northwest. This is the west side of Bondurant here is really where all of the destruction, at least that we know of, is concentrated right now. Again, you can kind of see maybe, I mean, it has been cleared up a little bit, but where that debris path, it looks like. Stacy, were you saying something?
Yeah, Chris, we see the Mid-American crews there, or excuse me, the power company crews there looking to remove some of the debris. There was so much debris wrapped around these power lines. And they've done a significant amount of work to free the debris.
Yeah, I mean, there really was. It was like twisted around.
Okay, it just shows the power of that storm.
They really have. It's been it's clearly a team effort here.
Okay, Chris, thank you very much.
It was
Chris
like wrapped
Gothner
around.
Let's go back over to Curtis. And as I said, KCCI's Chris Gothner is there. And Chris is right in the middle of what you just saw. Chris, what's the latest on the situation in Bondurant?
Well, Steve and Stacy, if for those of you at home who've been watching us throughout the evening and afternoon, we have moved further east. We've moved further east from where we were before. That's because the gas leak that was around here has been contained. So good news there, but I'm going to walk and show you. We have debris just scattered here all throughout the ground, just various people's accoutrements here just scattered throughout the ground. We've been seeing hats, clothes, you name it, just scattered here. Take a look at some of the destruction as we walk through this park area. You can see where this tornado blew right through, just trees down, decks, collapsed, windows just completely blown out. You see siding just removed from that house, giving you a closer look at that when we were before. Just, you can tell we're standing basically right where this tornado blew through right now. You can see just all the stuff scattered about. We got what looks like insulation or just pieces of a house right here. Clothes on the ground. You see folks working to contain the damage right next to this above ground pool. The cleanup has already begun. Again, just to update you, for those of you who are just tuning in maybe right now, we have heard from authorities here, Polk County deputies and others here, that there have been no injuries that they know of in the Bondurant area, which is really something when you consider just all of the destruction here and what could have happened. I mean, especially considering, as everybody's been saying, this really took everybody by surprise. And we talked to neighbors earlier who were out just driving when this came through, and they had to try to they said they were trying to outrun this thing. I mean, it was scary for people, and just fortunate that everybody's safe. We had that house, I don't know if you all remember that,
Chris,
where the
Chris, we see.
Hi, Stacy.
Yeah, we see folks behind you cleaning up already all this storm damage. You've been there throughout the afternoon. What are you hearing from property owners about the damage and what they're seeing and their efforts to clean up?
Obviously, it's much too soon for a dollar amount damage estimate, but I mean, we had a house here. If you remember the video from earlier, we had a house here where the entire second story blew off. It was a 2-story house. It's now a 1-story house. Obviously, tremendously significant damage. I mean, we're not seeing in this part as we move further east the kind of roof damage, but you look at all the decks that have been blown off here. I mean, this is not going to be a a cheap repair for folks. I mean, you can see they're starting now. They're getting started on this. What's going to be a long repair process, I can only assume. Stacy, Steve?
Chris Gothner live in Bondurant. Thank you, Chris. KCCI's Chris Gothner has been in Bondurant since shortly after the tornado moved through, right around 3 o'clock. He joins us live now with an update. Chris.
Steve and Stacy, this storm carved a path of destruction here in Bondurant. Take a look. Again, this is that house we have been showing you all day here in the Mallard Point area on the west side of Bondurant. This was a two-story house. The roof has blown off that second story, that tornado, as it just came through here. Take a look at some of the video that we shot earlier of some of the destruction. Right now, this area is in cleanup mode and is going to be a long road for folks living here. Fortunately, no one in this neighborhood has been hurt, according to officials. We haven't got any reports of injuries on this. Even in that house, the folks who were in that house where the roof blew off, they were away at the time, luckily. But everybody in here, this neighborhood, was certainly shaken up. Take a listen.
I drove right past this house maybe a minute before it hit the house. It was a second-story house. It was beautiful, perfect condition. I turned down here because I couldn't really get through down that way because the tornado was right there. Trying to get home because I didn't want to get caught in it in my car.
So we were actually taking a nap. I had 3 of them down for nap, and the power went out, and as I was walking across the kitchen, the camper hit the wall that they were taking a nap in, and then the whole kitchen just started busting up. All the windows started breaking. I was trying to get them out of the house, and as I was walking back through the kitchen to get out of the house, the whole back of the garage was gone. The whole trees were gone. Everything was just completely destroyed.
It was right in my window. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen. I'm a lifelong Iowan. You never think that's going to happen. And it was right there.
Just incredible words from those 3 women there as this storm took everybody by surprise. Now, in this neighborhood down the road here on 2nd Avenue, there had been a gas leak caused by this storm. That gas leak has been contained, and right now officials are just out here directing traffic. As you see, just a couple crews. Definitely not the kind of a response we had earlier with just many law enforcement agencies, even in the area. Even the commercial vehicle enforcement guys from the state of Iowa DOT were out here. So that just goes to show how massive this response was. Live tonight in Bondurant, Chris Gothner, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
A different tornado really busted up the part of the town of Bondurant just east of Des Moines right around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Chris Gothner is there. He's been there since about that time. And Chris, you're still live, and you got there right after the tornado rumbled through, right?
Yeah, we did, and it was just chaos, pandemonium here. You saw neighbors outside just looking to see what happened. You know, as night is falling right now, everybody who has a home to go inside pretty much has gone inside right now, but there's no doubt that the cleanup here is going to continue bright and early tomorrow and into the weeks to come. This is going to be a long effort. Again, you see, police are still out here. They have 2nd Avenue here in the Mallard Point neighborhood still blocked off here, likely because of debris just still scattered around here. Take a look at some video that was shot by someone as this tornado was coming through. You could hear him, this neighbor, talking there. Let me just be silent here as we can hear what this video was like.
Oh my God! Honey, get inside! There just went a house. There just went a house. Houses are going.
That house you hear him talking about there is that house that we've been referencing all day, where the second story just blew off by this tornado. That was probably the worst one we've seen in this area on the west side of Bondurant, and it really is incredible that nobody was injured in all this. Really just a stroke of luck. Now, further on down east, again, we saw a lot of decks blow off, windows blown out, a couple roofs destroyed by this. You know, it wasn't a a wide swath of damage, I would say. It was a very narrow one, but where this storm came through, it was bad. I mean, no other way of putting it. It was a really bad storm, and it is going to take a while for folks here to clean up. Live tonight in Bondurant, Chris Gothner, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
Thank you, Hannah. We've had incredible pictures and video of the funnel clouds and the tornado that hit Bondurant earlier this afternoon. KCCI's Chris Gothner has been there since the storms moved out. Chris, what do you have for us now?
Yeah, Stacy, I think we're on about hour 8 since photographer John Houghton and I got here. It has been a day, certainly, for everybody involved here. You know, this doesn't seem as if I haven't seen too much from Marshalltown and Pella, I've been listening to it more or less. But it doesn't seem like this has been as bad, but it has certainly been destructive here. And for these people who lived in this house, it was certainly that bad. This was a 2-story house, of course. That roof just got ripped off there. But, you know, I think at the end of the day on this, what really matters here is that nobody in the Bondurant area got hurt. The west side of Bondurant, though, here where we are, did get some pretty good damage here. This was a pretty compact seeming storm, but where it did hit, it hit good. I mean, we saw numerous decks collapsed, numerous windows blown through, and of course a couple roofs that were removed by this. Take a look at some video. This is of the cleanup phase. This cleanup is going to be lasting for a while, folks. I mean, this is not a one-day thing. I'd imagine bright and early tomorrow morning we're going to be seeing folks out here slowly but surely just picking up the pieces here. You know, I'm not a professional damage estimator by any means, but I would venture to guess that we have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage, and that's probably an understatement. It may be millions here in Bondurant as you just look at all the damage that had been caused to some of these homes there. You know, earlier we did have that gas leak. That got shut off. Crews were able to get that shut off. First responders were keeping everybody safe out here. Just a massive effort from everybody. Teamwork. Teamwork from neighbors. You saw all the neighbors out there helping each other out. Really just everybody came together after the storm and came together quick. We saw the neighbors out here right away as we pulled up. I think we pulled up about 10 minutes after this storm hit, and they were out there just helping everybody out. It's certainly going to be a long-term thing for this community, but we'll keep following it as we keep following here in Bondurant. But for one last time, live in Bondurant, Chris Gothner, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.